In the early hours of April 26, 1986, an invisible enemy was unleashed on the world, and its name was Chernobyl. A name that would soon send chills down the spine of humanity. Nestled in the heart of Ukraine, Chernobyl was a bustling town best known for its nuclear power plant, a symbol of progress of the atomic age, a beacon of what seemed like limitless power and potential. But with great power comes great responsibility, and the potential dangers were immense. Nuclear power, a force that could light up cities but also had the potential to create a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. A delicate balance of control and chaos, of power and peril. A balance, once tipped, could unleash an enemy unseen, silent but deadly, with a lasting impact far beyond its epicenter. As the world slept, the people of Chernobyl were blissfully unaware of the ticking time bomb in their midst. Little did the world know Chernobyl was about to become infamous. A routine safety test turned into a nightmare that would haunt generations. On that fateful night of April 26, 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine was scheduled to perform a safety test on Reactor 4. This was no ordinary test. It was an experiment designed to see how the reactor would behave under conditions mimicking a power outage. The plan was simple. Gradually reduce the power, simulate a shutdown, and then try to power the reactor using only the residual steam. But the execution of this plan was marred by a series of unfortunate decisions and technical mishaps. The reactor's design played a significant role in this catastrophe. Unlike most nuclear reactors that use water as both a coolant and a neutron moderator, the Chernobyl reactors used graphite as a moderator and water as a coolant. This design was inherently unstable at low power levels. Due to a delay in the test, the reactor was forced to operate at a very low power level, far below the safe limit. This led to a rapid increase in reactor's temperature and pressure, making it highly unstable. The operators, unaware of the imminent danger, proceeded with the test. Upon shutting down the reactor, they activated the emergency safety systems. However, the control rods, designed to absorb neutrons and slow down the reaction, had a fatal flaw. Instead of full graphite or boron, the tips of these rods were made of graphite, which initially increased the reaction rate rather than slowing it down. This, coupled with the already unstable state of the reactor, sparked a chain reaction. Within a blink of an eye, two massive explosions blew the 1,000-ton lid off the reactor, releasing a lethal cocktail of radioactive isotopes into the atmosphere. The reactor, now exposed, ignited a fire that would burn for days, spewing radioactive smoke across vast stretches of Europe. The reactor's core, a molten mass of radioactive material, began to eat through the floors of the power plant. In a matter of seconds, Reactor 4 was transformed into a deadly inferno. In the face of a deadly invisible enemy, heroes rose to the challenge. The explosion at Chernobyl had just occurred, and the immediate aftermath was a scene of utter chaos and confusion. Amid this confusion, one group stood out by their sheer determination and courage: the firefighters. These brave souls, unaware of the invisible radioactive enemy they were up against, plunged headlong into the battle against the raging inferno. With limited protective gear and no knowledge of the true nature of the enemy they were fighting, they battled on, determined to contain the reactor fire. Their efforts were heroic, driven by a sense of duty and a commitment to protect their community. They fought tirelessly against a foe they couldn't see, in conditions that were beyond comprehension. Many of them paid the ultimate price, succumbing to radiation sickness in the days and weeks that followed. Their bravery was unparalleled, their sacrifice immeasurable. The battle against the fire at Chernobyl was not just a physical fight, but a testament to the human spirit and a poignant reminder of the cost of nuclear disaster. In the shadow of the disaster, a city was left to the ghosts. The city of Pripyat, once home to the Chernobyl power plant workers and their families, was evacuated with haste. Buses lined up, and within a day, Pripyat's 50,000 residents were whisked away, leaving behind their homes, their possessions, their lives as they knew them. The city, once buzzing with life, became eerily quiet. Nature started reclaiming the concrete structures, and the city's heartbeats were replaced by the rustling of leaves and the occasional howl of a stray animal. The Exclusion Zone, a 30-kilometer radius around the power plant, was abandoned and remains largely uninhabited. It stands as a chilling reminder of the disaster, a ghost town echoing the past. The once bustling city of Pripyat fell silent, left to the mercy of time and radiation. The invisible enemy claimed more victims long after the flames were extinguished. The Chernobyl disaster did not end when the last ember of the fire was put out. Its aftermath was a slow, creeping horror that unfolded over years, decades even. The invisible enemy, radiation, continued to claim victims long after the immediate danger had passed. Survivors of the incident, those who were in the vicinity of the explosion, and even those who bravely stepped forward to contain the disaster, known as the liquidators, bore the brunt of this invisible enemy. Many of them fell ill with acute radiation sickness, a rapid and severe illness caused by exposure to high levels of radiation, characterized by nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and in severe cases, death. But the health effects of Chernobyl didn't stop at acute radiation sickness. Long-term, the survivors and liquidators began to experience a host of other health issues. An increased incidence of various types of cancer, particularly thyroid cancer, became prevalent among this group. Heart disease, cataracts, and mental health disorders also became common ailments. The subsequent generations, the children and grandchildren of those exposed to the radiation, were not spared either. They too began to exhibit health problems, from birth defects to an increased risk of developing cancer. The genetic damage caused by the radiation had been passed down, affecting even those who had not been born at the time of the disaster. It's important to remember that these are not just statistics. These were and are real people. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. Their lives were irrevocably altered by an event that took place in the span of a few hours, but the effects of which will be felt for generations to come. The human cost of Chernobyl is not just measured in the immediate deaths caused by the explosion and subsequent fire. It's measured in the long-term health effects, the psychological trauma, the lives cut short by illness years after the event. It's measured in the silent suffering of those who survived and those who came after. The toll of Chernobyl is not just in lives lost, but in lives forever altered. Behind the radioactive curtains, stories of resilience and strength unfolded. Among these tales, we find the biorobots. Brave men who, cloaked in makeshift armor, ventured into the heart of the disaster. Their task? To clear the radioactive debris from the reactor's roof. With each sortie lasting no more than a few fleeting moments, they faced a lifetime's worth of radiation. Simultaneously, another unique endeavor was underway. The animal resettlement efforts, a desperate attempt to save the innocent wildlife caught in the Catastrophe's crossfire. Teams of veterinarians and volunteers worked tirelessly, risking their own lives to rescue and relocate hundreds of animals, giving them a chance at life away from the deadly radioactive zone. These unheard stories, these tales of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, remind us that even in the darkest hours there can be light. In the face of an unseen enemy, humanity's indomitable spirit shone through. Chernobyl is not just a place, it's a lesson etched in history. The echoes of Chernobyl reverberate far beyond the confines of the exclusion zone. The disaster sent shockwaves through the world, prompting a seismic shift in the perception and handling of nuclear power. The unforeseen catastrophe underscored the need for stringent safety protocols and international cooperation in the face of nuclear emergencies. In the aftermath of the disaster, nations worldwide were compelled to reassess their nuclear safety protocols. The International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, established the Convention on Nuclear Safety in 1994, fostering a framework for international cooperation. Countries began to share their experiences, their expertise, and their resources, understanding that nuclear safety is a global responsibility, not confined within national borders. The Chernobyl disaster also triggered an evolution in reactor design. The flaws of the RBMK reactors, like the one at Chernobyl, were laid bare for the world to see. Today, modern reactors incorporate passive safety features that kick in automatically, even in the event of power loss or human error. These design changes were directly influenced by the lessons learned from Chernobyl. But the echoes of Chernobyl are not just heard in policy meetings and design blueprints. They're also felt in the ongoing efforts to contain the radiation, a battle that continues to this day. The new safe confinement, a massive steel structure, now encases the remains of Reactor 4. acting as a shield against the release of radioactive material. This colossal feat of engineering stands as a testament to our collective responsibility to rectify the mistakes of the past. Yet despite our best efforts, the invisible spectre of radiation lingers. The exclusion zone, a ghostly testament to the disaster, is a constant reminder of the indelible mark left by the disaster. The echoes of Chernobyl are not just physical but psychological, a haunting reminder of the potential for devastation when power is mishandled. Chernobyl serves as a stark reminder of the power we wield and the responsibility that comes with it.